Hi! Today we are going to talk about some special shaded areas, and this is really cool because we're going to see figures and we're going to be able to work with figures that we haven't worked before. So this is chapter 12, lesson 1B, and it's part B of that lesson. And the objective is to find areas of shaded regions. So as I show here, we look at these shapes and we see, wow, they're really cool. So how can I find, for example, the area like the yellow area here, or just this blue, or just this red area here in the shape? So today we're going to learn how to find different areas that are shaded. How do we do that? Finding areas of shaded regions, this is what we have to do. We separate the given shapes into smaller shapes. So we get one shape that we probably don't know how to work with, or even if they are shapes that we've never seen before, and then we separate them in smaller shapes. Then what do? We find the area of each one of the smaller shapes, the areas of the shapes that we already know, and we work with them. And then we either add or subtract the areas to form the original shape again. So it's not very complicated, but it has several parts. Here we go. I have here one example. So this example says, find the area of the shaded region. The shaded area here, look, it is very different of what we're used to working with. But we can see that we have different shapes here, and we know how to work with those shapes. So here we are. We have one big circle here and two smaller circles. So the first thing we do, we separate into shapes. So how many circles? We only have circles here. So how many circles do we have? We have 3 circles here. And now we have to go to the formulas of area, because we need to remember those formulas, or we need to write them down so we can use them very often. Formula for area of a circle, it's pi, which, remember, pi we use 3.14 for pi, so it's pi times r squared. Remember that when we are finding area, we cannot use diameter. So if we have diameter, we have to find the radius first, and then we can find the area. And what is the radius? The radius is half of the diameter. Then we have to find all 3 areas. So the areas of circle 1. The first circle that we are going to work with is the shaded circle, which is the big circle. For us to find the area of that circle, we need to find what? The radius of the circle. So I have here the 2 little ones. How do I find the radius of the big circle here? If you see, they are attached, so they are connected here, which means that if I straighten here, if I continue here, this is 2 and this is 3. So here I have the diameter and the diameter. So each means that 3, 6, 8, and 10. 10 here is the diameter of the big circle, which means that the radius for the big circle is 5. So I get that 5, and this is what I use in my formula. So my formula is going to be pi times 5 to the second power. So this is how much? This is 25. Remember, this is not 5 times 2. This is 5 times 5, which is 25 times pi, which is the same as 78.5. Then I come to the second circle. The second circle I'm going to work with is the one that has the radius equal to 3. So likewise, I do pi times 3 to the second power. That's my formula, pi r squared. This is 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 9 pi, which is the same as 28.26. Since there are no measurements here, they don't tell us if it's centimeters, if it's inches, whatever it is, then we can use just u to the square. U means unit, whatever unit that is. And then the third circle, which is like our smallest circle over here. That smallest circle, how are we going to find the area of that circle? Likewise, we're going to do pi times, now my radius is 2 to the second power. 2 to the second power is 4. So 4 pi, which brings me 12.56 units squared. Well, now how do I find this shaded area here? Very simple. I have to do what? Get the big circle, get the area of the big circle, and take away the area of the two little circles. So whatever is left is the shaded area. So let's do. The shaded area is going to be how much? 78.5. Oh, this 8 doesn't even look like an 8. 78.5. I will take away 28.26, and I will take away also 12.56. So the shaded area is going to be 37.68 units squared. So don't forget to box your answer. So here we go. Again, get the big one and take away the two little ones. Whatever is left is the shaded area. And this way you can find the area that we're looking for. Our next example. So let me erase what we had here before. So now, look at this shape. This is actually a very cool shape. I like it. We have here two things that we can see. We don't know how to find the area of this beautiful blue part, which is what we're looking for. But we see that we have a square. See, it tells us that here that it is a square. So there is a square here. And what we have, and this is when it gets tricky, we have to learn how to see figures where we sometimes don't know what's happening. So here we have a square, and look at all this. This part here, the yellow part that we have here, this part right here, it is 1/4 of a circle. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4/4 of a circle, which means we have an entire circle here. How do we find the area of the square and the area of the circle? So here we go. How many shapes do we have? We have here only two shapes. We have circle and square. The formula for square is base times height. And the formula for the area of the circle we've seen in the problem before, it's pi times r squared. So the area of the square, let me get another pen. The area of the square, it tells me here that this side here measures 8. If that's a square, every side measures the same thing. So the area of the square is going to be 8 times 8, which is the base times the height. 8 times 8, 64. Now I have to find the area of the circle. The circle, how do I find how much the radius is? How do I find how much the diameter is? I don't know. So look here. This entire side measures 8. This part here is what? Is the radius. Because that is from, look, this is the circle. If I continue this, this is what I get. So if I get this circle here, whoa, if I get this circle here, this measurement here gives me the radius of my circle. Look, it's as if I had put all 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I made an entire circle here. So this part here, from here until here, I have the radius. If the entire side of the square is 8, this part here is just half of that, which is 4. And that gives me the radius to work with. So the area of the circle is going to be what? Pi times r, which is 4 squared. 4 to the square is 16. So I use what? 16 times pi, which is the same as 50.24. Again, there are no measurements here. They don't tell you the unit. There are measurements. They just don't tell you the unit that we are using. So the unit here, I am just going to call it unit square. So my shaded area is going to be what? 64, which is the big square. 64 minus the area of all 4 circles, all 4 fourth of circles, which makes just one entire circle. And this part here, the blue part, is what's going to be left. So 64 take away 50.24. So that is the same as 13.76 units square. If I didn't write that wrong,